This episode is brought to you by Hunt Hickory Creek. And new to Hunt Hickory Creek this year is their Central Kansas Lodge. They're going to be running hunters from the end of October all the way through January, and their main hunting area is located between Quivira National Refuge and Cheyenne Bottoms. Central Kansas is a special place for waterfowl hunting, and during the peak migration, those refuges hold hundreds of thousands, if not close to millions of ducks and geese at a time. Mainly specklebelly, snow, and lesser Canada geese, mallards, pintails, and widgeon. You may have an opportunity to harvest all of these species in one hunt. You'll be very comfortable every morning in their Avian X A-frame blinds or laying on backboards, and they hunt over 1,200 of the industry's finest decoys. So visit their website at www.hunthickorycreek.com for booking information and follow them throughout the year on Facebook and Instagram. And don't miss your opportunity at a hunt of a lifetime with Hunt Hickory Creek. If you're going to hunt Kansas, hunt Hickory Creek. Welcome to the Fowl Front Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, where our goal is to recruit and educate new hunters while entertaining the rest of you. Without new hunters and the mentorship of those more seasoned, this passion as we know it faces an uncertain future. So get the word out, turn the volume up, and enjoy the show, because you're on the Fowl Front. This episode is also brought to you by Grip Pack Calls. If you want to produce a more versatile, realistic, and higher quality sound with all the ease of a double reed, whether you're looking to up your game or just starting out, let a Grip Pack call work just as hard for you as the Grip Pack crew did to develop and bring you next level quality with easy blowing calls. Grip Pack Calls. Find your grit. This episode is also supported by Goose Ninja Call Lanyards, MDR Custom Woodworks, Twisted Wire Upland Hunts out of Grand Island, Nebraska, and from our friends over at High Prairie Sportsman over on YouTube. All right, welcome to the Fowl Front Waterfowl Podcast, episode number 17. This week we are going to be talking all about two-dimensional decoys, silhouettes, and socks. You know, the thought process behind this episode was that I'm building a bigger goose spread this year because I live in Kansas now, and that's the thing to do. Really didn't have the funds to go buy a trailer full of, 3D full-body goose decoys. So, going to look into the two-dimensional spread, and I just wanted to know how to use them, and so, and whether or not they were really worth it. And so I called up Asher over at Dive Bomb Industries to have a little chat with him, and thought maybe you guys would also be interested. So, Asher, you want to go ahead and give us a little introduction?
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Asher Tolliver. I am the Vice President of Dive Bomb Industries. I handle everything from customer service to customer relationships to video editing. Basically, whatever Cody needs from me, I do what I can, the best I can, and just kind of everything dive bomb.
So how did you get into hunting?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I was probably about 4 or 5, and my brother came home from school, and my dad hunted quite a bit growing up, and we got 3 kids. It slowed down, and we were still young, and my brother, a kid from school, had asked him to go duck hunting. He wanted to take him to some minnow ponds and shoot some divers. This place called Anderson Minnow Ponds. They used to let you go out there and they'd drive around and scare them up. You'd sit on levees, and it was like dove hunting almost. I mean, it's just a great place to take kids. And my brother come home from school, and he was 11 at the time. I was about 4, maybe 5. He was 12, and my dad was like, "Well, I'll go with you guys." And so, of course, being little brother, I'm like, well, I'm going, I'm going, I've got to go,
Yeah.
So of course he couldn't leave me out. I'm the baby of the group. So I kind of got what I wanted. So, we went out there and sat on those levees, and they'd drive around, they'd shoot fireworks and at them, and everything. It's actually, they got legal permits to do this stuff because they're operating a fish farm and just eating a ton of their,
product,
ton of money and profits. So man, we sat out there on the levees, not a decoy, and just sticking out like a sore thumb with a single shot 20 gauge and ruddy ducks and scaup and ringneck and, just mergansers flying over. And, man, we just shoot and shoot and shoot. You run through boxes of shells, not hardly hitting anything at that age. And, man, that was about all it took. So from then on out, it was, if I was on Thanksgiving break or it was a weekend, Dad, we've got to go. And then it just progressed from the minnow ponds to a little bit more serious to kind of what I am now, hunting in public land all over Arkansas and flooded timber and running around with dive bomb, and just that's where the whole passion started, though, sitting on levees in Lone Oak, Arkansas, shooting divers.
That's an interesting first hunt story. You don't hear that a lot. So let's get into a little bit about Dive Bomb Industries. How did it start? What is it? What do you guys got going on?
So Cody started Dive Bomb Industries in 2011. As we all know, for young people and most all of us, building a competitive decoy spread is incredibly difficult on a budget because decoys are expensive, and to get a lot of them, it's very, very expensive, especially the quality of decoys that are out there today. And the whole goal was, I'm going to try to make something, that hunters can use and kill birds over, as quality as I possibly can, but something that people can afford without having to take out a loan. I remember going in my spreads with 5 or 6 guys, trying to be able to afford it. So that was kind of the whole mission, starting up with Cody with Dive Bomb, and it started, from the ground floor, and he designed a silhouette, and basically it was like, this is what I want to do, and he made some, and it got better and better from there, and it's kind of grown into what it is now. Coming out with new products and getting better all the time.
When did you guys start out?
It was in 2011.
2011.
Cody started Dive Bomb in 2011.
Okay.
I wasn't a part of Dive Bomb then. I've been doing some things off and on with Cody for about 3 years through social media, and I've been like in an active role with Dive Bomb for probably about 8 months now.
And so you guys are based out of St. Louis, correct?
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
In St. Louis.
Nice. And you want to just kind of paint a picture for the listeners? What are you guys working out of? What's it like over at headquarters?
So it's a warehouse kind of in the industrial part of St. Louis, and we house everything there, and product development and stuff, design and everything in house, and warehouse everything there, and ship out of there. We do everything, right there in St. Louis. We sell direct online, so in order to keep our prices down, we cut out the middleman and we sell direct to our consumers. And, we found that, if you start selling to these bigger box stores, well, they've got to make money, so they've got to mark them up. And, so we can no longer sell them at a price point that we want because you can't undercut your retailers. So that was kind of going back to his whole mission. It was like, hey, yeah, we could have a ton of product at stores out there if we wanted to. Get called every day about people wanting to carry our product. But ultimately that would result in higher prices, and that just kind of goes against what we're about. We're trying to keep prices as low as we can. So that's why we do everything on our own, do our own website, and sell direct to our consumers and ship everything right there out of St. Louis.
Yeah, the reason I called you is because I just moved up here to Kansas, and, we got talking about spreads, and I can't be running – I don't have the space for a whole 3D spread, and I don't have the space for it. I don't have a trailer, and just ain't right. And so we started, talking about going 2D, and said, I'm gonna call these guys. And as soon as I heard, when you started telling me that story, I was like, oh man, we gotta have you guys on, because you fit right in line with kind of our philosophies that we have. The first thing we look for is quality. The second thing we look for is like, do you really need this? And then the third thing is obviously the price point. And those are the things that we try to endorse to our listeners, because, they're, the people that are, I'm sure there's people in here that, they can spend the money on, 14, 15 dozen, Avian X full bodies or things like that. And but most of us were just the younger guys or the new guys, and looking to grow, and we have monetary and financial requirements other than hunting. So
right, and I'm a do-it-yourselfer, man. Cody's a do-it-yourselfer, and we did this for people that can build a competitive spread, but our product has gotten so good and our customer service is so good that we don't just have do-it-yourselfers anymore. I mean, we've got some of the best outfitters and guide services anywhere and all of North America running dive bomb decoys. All you have to do is look on social media at the people that are running our spreads, and you'll see like, okay, this is the real deal. This ain't just like, let's save some money and try to kill some birds over these things. This is the best in the industry that are doing it, that are charging, hefty dollars to have people come in for 3, 4, 5 days that are hunting exclusively over our spreads. So we're very, very confident in our decoys, and we think they're great for the do-it-yourselfers, and because that's how we started. But if anybody's got any hesitation, they say, these are just for people trying to save money. It's like, yeah, right. You just go look around and see who's running these things. Like very, very well-respected individuals that in the industry that'll sit there and tell you, hey, not only do these guys got the best price, but this product's the real deal. Like I try to tell everybody, they ask me, I'm like, dude, the hype is real. Like you can say what you want, but we can prove it time and time again with we've got evidence to show that, the big joke I made the other day, I posted a picture and I said, it sucks. You can't land birds in 2D decoys. And it's this big bunch of birds just sitting around the decoys and standing there, with this big old group of 1,000 lessers, coming in. And, but they're the real deal, man. It's fun to be a part of and see it grow to what it's becoming.
Yeah, anytime you have, best in the quality market metric overlapping with, best price in the market, you got to start listening up, So
that's what I try to tell people, man. We still got our doubters, but I just say they keep sleeping on us and doing all that extra work and taking up all that extra space, and we'll just keep doing what we do.
Yeah, right. Well, hey, should we go over like a little bit of what you guys offer as far as, the product lineup overview? All
Sure.
right, so I guess first and foremost, we should talk about Canada's, right?
Yeah, that's where it all started. That's kind of our thing, where most people find out.
Yeah, so okay, I noticed that in here you get the V2s and we get the V2 sleepers, and then also you can get that they can also come in flocks.
That's right.
Okay, so the V2, as I understand it, that's the true 2D like silhouette that we think of.
That's right. So that the V2, that's our standard, our kind of our flagship model. We make that V2 in a sleeper as well, like you said. Those are $70 a dozen. We also sell them at discounted rates at 5 dozen. Mm-hmm. And we also make the V2 in a flock, so it's a V2F, and we make a V2F sleeper. All these decoys, they're printed. The decoys they're thick and they're tough as nails, but the images, they're applied with a paint. They're not made to scratch. They're peel, chip, fade, whatever it may be. We use these like high textured, non-glare additives for our images, and it's top notch. Our flocking, it's very deep and dark. People often the biggest enemy of waterfowl hunters is shine and glare. And we've taken so many steps to make sure that that absolutely is not an issue with our, as we see and as waterfowl see, is not only our vision, which I can get into later, but the way we perceive colors is very different. The way that they're able to perceive the ultraviolet light is much different than us. We're not able to do that the way ours are made. So that's a priority with our decoys. All of our silhouettes, with the exceptions of our cranes, they're 6 pounds, so they're very light, a dozen.
Okay.
Our cranes,
so you say 6 pounds a dozen?
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
6 pounds a dozen. And pretty much all of them, all of our silhouettes, socks, give or take, they're 6 pounds, and then the cranes are 12 pounds. They our silhouettes, they come with 20-inch stakes. These stakes they're spring steel. They're very, very rigid, very tough stakes. I'm hunting late season and the upper Midwest, and how do these go on the ground? I'll tell you, I'll put these stakes up against anybody on the market. But with that said, there are times late season when you cannot penetrate the ground with an ice pick and a hammer. It just doesn't matter. So I'm not going to sit here and say you get to late January, you're just going to be able to push these things in the ground. That's because that's just not realistic. There's nobody that can't. You can't push an ice pick in the ground. Can't do it. So, but I will say our stakes, they can be driven into the ground. They're made to be driven at the handle. If you got a rubber mallet and the ground is tough, you can drive them in the ground. They're not going to warp. They're not going to bend. They're powder coated finish. They're not going to shine. They're very, very strong. And it is what it is when you're dealing with 4 foot of, frozen soil, but other than,
yeah, you're not doing much with that.
Proud of our decoys and our stake system. They're very, very tough.
Okay. So, let's move into some of your other products. Got snow geese and specs, as I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that you have mallards as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So I said that all the silhouettes were 6 pounds. The mallards, obviously, they're a little bit smaller. They're about 4 pounds. And they're awesome, man. We hunted these mallards up in Saskatchewan last year. Just set out nothing but an M1 mallard spread, and it was really cool. We got some really, really good pictures over them. But our mallard silhouettes, their silhouettes, like the Canadas and the specs, they have a 20-inch stake, and they're 2-pronged. It's the same spring steel. The images, they're the same quality, the same process that we make on our mallards as we do on our Canadas, our specs, all of our silhouettes. We use that same high dots per inch printing.
And now, are those pictures of actual birds that you're printing on there?
Yeah, so we take photos of different poses of live birds that we've got, and we try to make those just almost just exact as we possibly can, because right. With the most vivid colors and colors that'll work in our favor, and but also hold up to the element.
Okay. Now, moving past just the silos, you guys also carry socks too, right?
Correct.
You want to talk a little bit about, I think you've got 2 different versions of your snow sock?
So we carry we actually carry 3 versions. We carry our S3 snows. We carry those in a blue, and we carry those in a juvie as well. So
okay.
We sell those by the dozen, the 5 dozen, and the 10 dozen at discounted prices. And also our socks. We make a speckle belly sock and a Canada sock as well. We've got several different socks, and we got a few more coming that can't talk about too much just yet, but I think people are going to be really, really excited about them. But our socks, they've all got the same backbone, the same, as far as like the mechanics of them, the socks, they all have the same like zero memory, spring open mouth, the snap locking backbone system, collapsible for easy transportation. They're 100% assembled, out of the box. So that's just the basic mechanics of all our socks. So they're all very, very efficient, very user friendly.
Right. I think the biggest thing with like when I've set out socks before, it's, okay, you got to pull the head and the stake out of them, and then, you got to set it. It takes, a while to set up. But that's what I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. How does the snow, rain, frost, cloud cover, how does it affect these decoys? Specifically the silhouettes.
They don't have any effect on it. To tell people like, hey, if you go out and hunt and you get a lot of moisture on your decoys, and you're not going out the next day, if you're planning on not going out for another couple of weeks, just be smart. Treat them good. Like let them dry out, stick them in a bag when they've got a bunch of moisture on them. But as far as the elements, like while you're hunting, they won't hurt them in the least bit. They're very easy to clean, if you get mud on them or like that. But
you just spray them off with a hose.
Yeah, or you can get a light little scrubbing brush and clean them. But the biggest thing I like, as far as hunting in the moisture, no problems. But go back out the next day or next couple days, you'll be fine. Don't throw them in the bag. Man, you get them soaking wet, like our shotgun. Go out there and hunt in rain. We don't just case our gun and get ready to pull it out whenever the time comes to hunt again. We let it dry out, or we clean it, oil it, do whatever we need to do. So, you take care of these decoys, they'll take care of you. It just depends on how long you want your stuff to last. Just like anything in life, just take care of your stuff, and it'll, and they'll be good to you. They'll last you a long time.
So I think this is a good transition point. Like, people get a little hesitant with switching over from the 3D to the 2D. And I mean, I was literally in this same boat, 2 weeks ago. 'Cause I think to myself, I want the most realistic thing. But
sure.
That's like we were talking about earlier. It's, perception is reality, and birds perceive these colors and these shapes, things much differently than we do. And I think a lot of times we pick out hunting products, especially decoys, based on our eyes and what looks good to us.
Yeah, it's funny. If you've got a trailer full of full bodies and you got your bags of silhouettes, 10 times out of 10, guys that don't hunt very much, they're getting the bodies every single time, every time, no questions asked, because that's what looks good to us. We say, hey, man, that's a full body 3D object. They see those things, man, they're going to think that's the real deal, and they're like, oh, those flat things, they're going to see that, okay. All right, so let's just talk about this for a minute. The way that waterfowl see, their eyes are set on the sides of their head. So their peripheral vision is very, very, very good. As, humans, predator animals, we have binocular vision. Our eyes are set on the front of our head. We are able to perceive depth. That's what we're able to do. We can't see somebody sneaking up behind us, but if we're going to attack something, if a leopard's going to attack whatever it may be, it's got to be able to judge its striking distance, its depth. Just like, like an eagle. I mean, that's why an eagle, they're going down to catch fish. If their eyes were set on the side of their head and they're trying to judge how to scoop up a trout, they're going to have some problems. They aren't able to perceive depth the way that we're able to perceive depth. So while a 3D object looks nice to us, birds are not able, as they approach the spread, they're not able to understand, oh, those are flat. All they see is, as they work the spread, they're constantly losing decoys and picking up new ones, losing them and picking up new ones. And to them, it gives the illusion of movement when there's no movement actually happening. 3D decoys, I think that they're great. I think they're a great tool to have. Don't get me wrong. But I think you're able to use less decoys whenever you use 3D decoys, because as the birds fly over the spread, they don't lose 3D decoys. They're able to stay locked into them, whereas 3D decoys, as they transition and swing, they'll go from a flat side to the back, lose it, to picking up others again. So humans, if we're circling the spread, the way we're able to perceive depth, we would say, if we could fly, we would say, okay, you can see clearly those are flat, because that's what we're able to do with our eyes. We can judge depth. We can perceive depth. We see in 2D, but the way our eyes are set, we are able to perceive depth. Birds, They can't do that. If they're sitting out in the middle of a field, they can dang near see 360 degrees. I think it's like 320 or 340. You don't see all the way around them. But their ability to see depth is not good the way they're that's the way they're made. They're prey animals. So a lot of people, they have this misconception that, these objects are flat and be able to see that. It's like, no, you got a spread of 2D decoys. If you spread those things out and set them out properly, those birds, they'll never know what hit them. Now, if you jumble them all up and face them all the same direction, okay, now we are completely defeating the purpose in a 2D decoy, because then what happens is they circle the spread. We've got them all lined the same way. Now we just lose all of them, and then they come back around and they pick them all up again. Okay, now that's a little bit off.
Yeah,
like some
Houdini geese or something.
Right. So you're just kind of you're completely defeating the purpose of a 2D spread if you sit there and you jumble them all up and you put them all facing the same direction. But if you get some space in those things, I like to take 2 or 3 big steps in between. Because space is going to be your friend, because as they come over your spread, they work your spread, they're going to hit so many different angles of those things. Even if the wind's not blowing a lick, their minds are going to tell them that those things are moving when they're really not. And and a lot of things that people, this 2D decoys have such a good tall profile. I mean, they look so realistic. They don't get lost in the ground clutter. If you're hunting in some burnt barley or some stubble, rice stubble, speckle bellies, the way those things sit up and upright, shells and stuff, man, they disappear.
Right.
And they just disappear in the ground. But those things, they sit up, and then as the sun comes up, you got good sun, those things cast, a very, very realistic shadow. And that's another reason that I like to put some space in them, because you got them all jumbled on top. Well, what happens when the sun comes up? You got a big black blob. Well, you got a little space in those things, and they've all got a nice individual shadow, different pattern, different poses and stuff. I mean, it looks the part. It looks realistic. And that's just all that go into enticing, an educated group of birds to come land in your spread. Because it's, at the end of the day, it's not always what looks best to us. It's what looks best to these animals that we're hunting from the air. I mean, it's as simple as that.
One of the listener questions that we have is, how small of a spread can I get away with? They hunt the East Coast and then up near on the Front Range in Colorado, where they don't get big groups, but they use smaller spreads, and they want to know, how small of a group can they get away with? Right.
That's what I was going to ask you when you said that. I was going to say, well, what are they hunting? Are they hunting big geese or little geese, or because our guys that are running our decoys out in West Texas and Oklahoma, I mean, they're hunting big groups of little geese, lessers that are coming off these roost in massive numbers, and sometimes they're working groups of a couple thousand, even more. So to say you could go out there with 2 dozen, it's just not happening. Now he's over there on the East Coast, and maybe he's hunting some local graders. Maybe you're hunting on a river, a sandbar. The best thing that I can say is try to replicate their numbers and what they're doing the best you can with your spread. So if you're going out there and you're scouting and you see that, there's 15 or 20 out there and they're kind of loosely just hanging out and grazing, there's no reason that you can't go out there with 15 or 20. The biggest thing about honkers, if they are hunting smaller groups of honkers or resident geese or whatever it may be, is very rarely are they going to be, circling around and trying to pick you out. It's not like hunting lessers where, they're getting big bunches and they make these big bends. These geese that, he's probably talking about hunting, they're either coming there or they're not. You know what I'm saying? Like if you get there and you get set up and you get hit, it's not going to be a lot of gimmicks. Either they're coming or they're not. We have tons of guys that are hunting small populations of geese that have a ton of success with 2 dozen, 3 dozen decoys problem. But it's all relative to the numbers of geese that you're hunting, what time of year it is. And the biggest thing is once you get everything set up and you can replicate what they were doing when you're scouting, just make sure you're hidden, make sure you're hidden and you'll be fine. You'll absolutely can kill them over a spread. But now if we go out and you're talking about if he's out on the front range and he's working big bunches, well, 2 dozen, 1 dozen, that's not going to replicate what's been using in there, if that is the case, if they are hunting big groups. So I think you've just got to be relative to your area and what you're hunting. And no reason on the East Coast or some of these people, some of the early hunting, some of these locals, small spreads, get covered up, be where they want to be. You'll have no problem.
So I was going to ask you, so when you're hunting these things and you're setting them up, I assume you're mostly just using kind of a dump spread technique where set out, one here, and then you said you take 2 or 3 big steps, set out another one at kind of just a slightly different angle. What's your method for when you're deploying these things? And then maybe could you give us some sort of, I know it's very relative to a person's ability or athleticism, how many they can put out, but what's a realistic expectation for how long it takes to set out a dozen or 10 dozen,
So our bags, our silhouette bags, they're made to hold 5 dozen. A lot of us, we don't have the luxury of some of the guys that are hunting in these drier climates where they can just drive out into a field all the time. Sometimes we've got to deal with them. I mean, especially like in Arkansas, if we're going to hunt speckle bellies, the buckshot mud that we've got, you're not driving a trailer or anything like that. The ability to hunt with, that's the biggest thing with silhouettes anyway, is their user friendliness because of, less storage, and they're easy to, put out and pick up. But, our bags hold 3 light. If you're even decently in shape or athletic, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to throw, 4 of our bags over your shoulder and haul 20. I mean, somebody, you got your blind bag, your guns, easily 3 guys, you should be able to hunt 50 dozen. No problem. If that's what you need to do. If you're hunting a smaller spread, 10 dozen, that's just a work. You could set out 10 dozen of those things in, no time. I could set out probably a dozen in a minute. A minute and a half, and just grabbing them, putting them down, take a couple steps. They're nothing to set out, man. They're setting out and picking up's the greatest thing about those decoys. It just requires a truck bed. You don't have to have a big full blown rig, enclosed trailer. They're very, very convenient, very easy to use. But man, if you're hunting a big spread, you're hunting 50, 60 dozen. If you have 5, 6, 7 guys, oh man, you could be set, have your blinds ready to go. And, I don't see why it would take any more than 30 minutes.
Oh man.
Nope. I think you said something about the shape or something.
Oh yeah. Some people get into, setting up pockets and things like that. And,
right.
And J hooks.
I didn't really touch on that very much. Yeah. I just don't try to overcomplicate it, see what they're doing when you're scouting. But like I said, don't face them all into the wind. Use them, let them do what they do best. And you just put them out and let them work. Because very, very rarely do geese are all feeding into the wind unless it's a very, very strong wind, as in like 30 miles an hour plus. Then you'll see their heads down, and usually they're kind of going against that wind. You'll see videos all over the place when the wind gets very, very, very high. But other than that, when geese are just loafing around and they're feeding, you go look at any feed field, man, they'll usually be oriented like feeding a certain direction. But as far as the birds all being that same direction, no, not a chance. You go out there, set your decoys. Don't, it's not rocket science. Don't make it more difficult than it has to be. Set a decoy, take a couple steps, set another decoy, and they're going to work for you. That's what they're made to do. We made them poses. We make quartering away, feeder, upright. We made them with different poses for that very reason. So takes the math out of it. Put them in the ground. Get on the X, put them on the ground. Get your butt hidden, and don't make it too complicated. Leave them a place to land. If you want to set a U, set a U. If you want to set an X, I like a Nike check. It works. It's just, if you want to, have them a little bit more bunched up, if you like that, do a teardrop, but, and maybe you can concentrate them a little tighter around your blinds, but, leave them some space, for the most part, birds, they typically don't like to, fly over, getting to where they're going. They will, but if you can leave them a lane, it just makes them a little bit more comfortable. They can kind of ease their way down and, come all the way into you. Like, leave them some space, give them a lane. Don't cut them off, close them off. And, don't make it more difficult than it has to be.
What about when we're hunting, like riverbanks, narrow strips of like sandbars and things of that nature? Is there any particular instance where you set them all kind of lined up in the same direction or not?
No, I wouldn't. I sure wouldn't. I would just stagger them. I guarantee if you go out to a sandbar and you find a group of geese and they're just kind of out. I mean, I was just up at the park a minute ago and there was, I don't know, probably 50 or so. And, they're just kind of just hanging out, doing what they do. There's a couple scoping the scene, a couple just kind of chilling. Other ones are eating the grass, but it's, they're not all just like oriented, like locked in on the same direction. It just doesn't look realistic. So no, I mean, I would say get out there, when you're doing your scouting, sandbar or a bank and you've seen birds using there, pattern them, see when they're coming there, put your binoculars up. What do they look like when they're there? And you'll see that they're not all doing the same thing. They're not all lined up like an army, getting ready to march up the sandbar, so just set them up relative to your situation, the numbers that you're targeting. I mean, it's as long as you're where the birds want to be, and you can get hidden, a little calling, or if you're hunting less, there's a lot of calling, good calling.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, it's all where you're at and time of year, weather, wind, all those are factors, but just speaking for the basic scenario and situation, no, I would never face them all the same way, because then you're just completely defeating the purpose.
Another user question that we have here is he wants to know if he can still hide in his decoys, and maybe if you've ever done this, what's the best method for hiding within your decoys, especially two-dimensional ones?
Well, I have a lot of times I do hunt over all 2D decoys, but we make ups as well that are extremely effective, and I like to run them. I mean, I like running them both together a lot. So those socks, I really like to pack those around if I'm hunting dirt field or whatever, a dark field. I mean, you can lay out, if you got enough decoys, you can lay out in those similar to how you lay out in snow goose spreads. We get those, or even if you're just hunting in layout blinds. I like to, I think silhouettes, they're really good for hiding around the blind. I like the socks to kind of pack around the blinds, and it kind of, as they do come in for that final approach and that last landing, if you got a little wind, those socks are kind of moving around, because if those birds are, if they're key spot and they're coming down your lane and they're not circling, okay, now the silhouettes are, they're more like directly on with them. So that's a situation where I think having those socks and then a little movement to just kind of convince them to just finish up just right in your face. But like I said, I've hunted all 2D decoys a lot, and you can put those around you, and you can lay in the spread if you're in a dark field, and you can pack those around you. But I like to, in those situations when I'm laying in the spread like that, I like to put the socks around us and around the hunters, and kind of in that keel hole, if they get a little bounce to them, it just kind of gives them that last little, all right, we're going to do it here now. That's what I like to do.
Okay, now, another listener says, well, I've already got several dozen, full bodies. How do I go about mixing and matching my 2Ds and my 3Ds, or does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The thing about the full bodies, and like I said before, I think full bodies are a great tool, great full body manufacturers out there. There's a lot of good decoys that a lot of birds are getting killed over. I think full bodies are great. They're very expensive, but I think they're an awesome tool. I think that they allow you to get away with fewer decoys. Like I said before, I think mixing and matching them is not a problem. I think that because it is 3D and the birds don't lose them on different angles as they work your spread, I think that's one advantage. Is I think if your budget's a little tighter and you already have some 3D decoys, I think it allows you to hunt fewer decoys. But as far as mixing and matching them in the spread, they're still going to be very effective, whether they're standalone or you're mixing them with, full bodies and shells. There's no I wouldn't have any hold up or hesitation about mixing them with full bodies. I wouldn't think twice about it.
What, in your opinion, is maybe the biggest drawback to using just all 2D spread, or what are some of the things that we're still going to be fighting?
Yeah, I think that the thing about 2D decoys, I think, whereas maybe full bodies, you can get away with fewer decoys. I think. I think that 2D going big every time, man. People can say, "Oh, it's late season, they're breaking up," and that's fine. If that works for you, that's great. But I'm going big with the spreads, and I think that might be a drawback because some people, might not have the the ability to buy 30 or 40 or 50 dozen. But I think there's just not a lot of disadvantages to them. I mean, I could sit here and tell you all the reasons why they work and why they're good. It's hard to. It's just like with a full body. There's not a lot of disadvantages to a full body except the fact that they're really expensive. They take up a lot of space and they take a while to set out, but as far as like disadvantages, I just think that you need bigger spreads. So it may cost a little bit, but as far as like ease of use and user friendly, I mean, it don't get any easier. It really doesn't.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to, I just think, like some of these guys hunting lessers, like I think, full bodies, like I said, you could probably get away with less. Whereas me personally, I think you go big. Even if I'm up in like Saskatchewan, like, man, even if I'm just hunting like ducks, people's like, you can just set out 2 dozen and a couple spinners. Like, yeah, that's cool, but I think I'm gonna go out with 10 dozen and 2 spinners.
Right.
I like big, man. I just even if the feed's not even, maybe if you're hunting a smaller feed, people's like, oh, well, that's not realistic. There's too many there. It's like, man, if they get to the point where they're like, oh man, there's more there than that's been there last week, man. If they get to the point where they're able to cognitively rationalize that, we've got some big problems. We've got much bigger problems than than what we think we've got. If they're like, oh man, we should be maxed out already, man. I don't think we should go in there. I'm pretty sure that they're, this is all we had yesterday.
Yeah, at that point, they're like staging like counterattacks and stuff. So.
Yeah, we're in trouble. We're in big trouble. So, yeah, man, I think more is better. I really do. I like to go big. I mean, even ducks in the timber at home. People's like, oh, you can just go out there with a jerk string and a call, or no decoys and just call, and that's great, man. I know people do it. They do it with a lot of success. But I'll go out there in January in a timber hole with, I don't care. I'll hunt 8 or 10 dozen. It works. We kill them over them. And I know there's dudes down the way that are hunting, a dozen, and they've got them really spaced out, and it's late season, and they're like, they're decoy shy, and well, I don't know. I can't argue with, what I feel like works, and I think going bigger works. So, I'm always going to go big. I mean, there might be a few situations few and far between that it's like, maybe we'll try to just mimic this to a T if it's a small little something. But man, most of the time I'm putting as many out as I can, as many as I've got time for. I mean, look at any of these guide services, man. They ain't going out there running 2 or 3 dozen, man. They're running 50, 60, 100 dozen, 3 groups, 100 dozen decoys. Some of these guys chasing these lessers and speckle bellies, and I mean the snow geese. We don't even have to get into that on the numbers that. I mean, you could put out decoys all day and still not, So, with all that said, in a roundabout way, I guess the only drawback that I feel like is that you need more. I think you need more of them, because I think you want all those different angles, for those ducks and those specks. I talked about honkers a little bit more. That's a little different. I don't think especially local honkers, I don't think you need as many, because they're coming or they're not, and it's just kind of how they are. But ducks, specks, snows, lessers, shoot, even some of these mega feeds of cranes. I think more is better. I think more is more enticing.
Yeah, and
there's more visibility.
And another thing too is you talk about like, okay, so I can generally get 5 dozen of yours for pretty much the same price I can get a dozen of something else. So, and then you talk about the mobility and just how quickly you put them out there. That was nuts to me when you told me you put about a dozen out in a. How long do you say it take you to deploy a dozen of them?
Oh yeah. Oh man. Oh gosh. I mean, if I've already got in my mind like a plan on how I want to do this, and I'm not standing there thinking about it, which typically I'm kind of OCD. I like to plan ahead and know what I'm doing. So if I already know, we've scouted it, we know going into it how we're going to approach this thing, and I know whenever I grab that bag and I start, I grab 12 out of that bag and put them in my hand. Man, I mean, I'm pretty decently, myself an athletic dude. I mean, I say at least a minute and a half, maybe, on a dozen. I mean, I can tell you when we set out a pretty big mallard spread last year up in Saskatchewan, there was like 5 of us. I think we set out like 12 or 14 dozen. And man, it was like no time, like 10 minutes, 12 minutes. I mean, it didn't take any time. We got there and we're like, now what are we supposed to do with all our time? We got this big old trailer up there and there's like a third of it's being used. It's just all dive bomb bags, and usually if it's a little muddy foiler in there, I'm like, man, we don't even need this big old trailer. We just need like one of them little band trailer, like one of them little ones that you see, because you just don't need all that space. We're like, man, what are we supposed to do with all our time now? We got here way too early, but I guess I'd rather be there early than late. You sure hate to miss that early shoot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on, and I'm hoping that this definitely sways some people to at least start thinking about maybe switching over to the 2Ds and the socks and stuff like that, because I think, especially for our listeners, the first time somebody maybe is looking through a magazine or something and sees how much a dozen full body goose decoys costs, might not be bad the first or the second time, but and then once you get those things in here, you don't realize how big they are until your wife you're trying to hide them from your wife.
That's
and
right.
Sneak them downstairs, for sure. But I'm really excited to, now I'm up here in Kansas, start building, a bigger spread. And, I think this is the way to go, because I'm not buying a trailer.
Yeah. I tell you what, once you have kids and a mortgage and stuff like that, it'll start making you want to figure out how you can save a little bit of money. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, life comes at last, and all of a sudden when you start paying your own, and even little things like your cell phone bill, that a lot of kids won't experience until they probably get out of college,
Yeah.
But stuff like that $100 or your AT&T or DirecTV, whatever it is, that stuff starts adding up, man. It really does. So we want to try to be there and help. I said, we believe in our decoys a lot, and then the outfitters and guide service, some of the best, they use them too, but we also want to be able to cater to the little guy too. And like one last thing, like I don't want to say like, oh, we got the only decoys, we got the greatest decoys in the world. Man, I've been hunting a long time, and I know that there's a lot of really, there's some good people in this industry that make some great decoys. But what I will say that separates Dive Bomb from many of these other companies, yes, we do make a great decoy, but Odie, what he has established with our customer service, the way we treat our customers, I would put that up against absolutely anybody in the industry. I don't know anybody that you could call on a personal cell phone on a Sunday night at 10 o'clock if you wanted to talk about hunting. You can do that with us. You're not going to be ignored, whether you email, whether you call, whether you text. I got a direct cell phone, 314-322-7486. You ever get me on that number. And we very, very, very much pride ourselves on our customer service. And because it's just frustrating when you try to reach out, you can't get an answer. People beat around the bush, and it's like, dude, just shoot me straight. Like, give me an answer. just, you got a question, nobody wants to be ignored. Nobody wants to feel like they're not important. I don't care if you're ordering a hoodie and a hat or if you're ordering 100 dozen. I'm going to answer your question. I'm going to treat you with respect. And Cody's done a great job getting that going off the ground from the time he started Dive Bomb. And that's my goal with this company is to be the best when it comes to customer service. I don't want anybody to have better customer than we do. And I think at the end of the day, that's what makes us different than everybody else.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just with the first 10 seconds I talked to you, I was expecting to get a, press 1 to blah, blah, blah. You were like, hey, what's up? This is, Asher from Dive Bomb Industries. And I was like, whoa,
right.
Okay, hey, how you doing? Looking to get into decoy spread or 2D decoy spread. And next thing I know, we're talking about spreads and talking about lessers in Kansas. And yeah, that's it. It is just, it's real refreshing. And, anytime, we can cut through all the crap and just be real with one another, that's important. It's important to highlight.
But you guys have a great podcast, man. I've listened to several of them, and I think they're awesome. Not only guys that have been around a while, but guys that are new and educating them and getting them into the sport. I think it's great because a lot of us we don't have that dad or that grandpa that was a diehard hunter that taught us everything we know. I just want to get into it. We heard about it, and the people that's been doing it forever, we just expect you to know all this stuff. We think you should just know everything, and that's why I want to be there. If somebody calls and they got questions, like, I understand, like, this is new to a lot of people, man. I don't care if you're 15. Like, it's, we weren't all just born, like, bred into this waterfowl life. A lot of us start later than others, and there are a lot of questions and a lot of unknowns. So I think the podcast, everything from decoy spreads to helping them choose a gun to shot size to decoy spread and placement, I think all of it's great. And I think it's important that we, educate, future hunters just doing things the right way. Even if it's talking to them about getting permission on the field, man, take care of the field, pick your stuff up, pick up your shell holes, go tell the farmer thanks, go buy him a handle of Jack Daniels if you want to or something, or go bake him a pie. It doesn't matter. Just be grateful for the opportunity that we have to chase waterfowl, because we're very lucky, man. And it's a great sport, but a lot of people that are against what we do and what we're doing. So, we need to be on the same page. We need to be ethical and respectful, and we need to be knowledgeable. I think we need to be able to talk to people that are keen on hunting or they want to argue against it. We need to explain who the ones who are actually paying for this habitat and preserving, these animals are, because it's sure not them that's, barking, save the ducks or whatever, but they haven't donated a cent to anything ever in their life, so I think this is great. I think what you guys are doing is really good. And I appreciate you having me on and letting me talk about Dive Bomb for a little bit.
Yeah, and hey, I just wanted to let you give you the opportunity to let the listeners know kind of what you texted me beforehand about that little promo thing, and then let them know where they can head on over and find some of your product information and where they can see some of the stuff that you guys are doing.
So I had spoke with Ben just before, and I said, hey, listeners of this podcast, if you go to checkout and you enter the promo code FOWLFRONT, and it is case sensitive, all lowercase, FOWL space FRONT, we'll take 10% off your entire order. It'll automatically pull it off at checkout, just as a way to say thanks for listening and supporting this podcast and supporting us, and it helps you save a little bit of money. And we've got some cool products on the website now. We got some really, really cool stuff in the works. Some stuff coming very, very soon. You guys just keep an eye out. We've had for some duck products and some different stuff for our snow goose line, and just some different things that I can't fully talk about yet, but I think you guys are really, really going to love. So make sure you keep following us. Follow us on Instagram, Dive Bomb Industries, Facebook. Questions, shoot me an email, info@divebombindustries.com. Give me a call at that number I spoke to before. I always forget it. Go to the website, save you some money, FOWLFRONT, all lowercase. Take 10% off.
All right. Yeah, appreciate it. Okay, Asher. Well, hey, appreciate you coming onto the podcast today and appreciate everything that you guys are doing over there, and really excited to get over some of your stuff this fall, and look forward to keeping up with you and Dive Bomb Industries here in the future.
All right, man. We appreciate you having us on. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Foul Front Waterfowl Podcast. Please come join us on our Facebook group, the Foul Front Waterfowl Podcast group, where you can connect with a good group of hunters, because we're all in this together. We need to act like it so that hopefully our great grandkids will be hunting ducks over our favorite public lands. We also ask that you go ahead and give us a written review on iTunes and give us 5 stars if you think we deserve it. And we really do want to hear back from you so that we can give you the best possible content. And if you get in on that Facebook group, you can get in there and you can ask questions and you can tell us what you want to hear next, or you can tell us what you don't like, and we'll be sure to tailor things to our listeners. So, all right, stay safe out there, and we will see you next week.